Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and after our opening round at Silverstone just 3 weeks ago, we're back here on the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge, and we're in South America at the Autódromo José Carlos Pace at Interlagos in Brazil, and we welcome you all wherever you are watching, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube or Twitch through the multiple streams that are being provided by Mike Yao, our broadcast director. But it is the three guys in the commentary box this evening, because not only do you have myself, Alex Goldschmidt, you also have my co-commentator, David Christie. But let's welcome along one of the Brit Car Trophy drivers from Team BRIT, Andy Tucker. Good evening, gents. How are we?
Evening, Alex.
Yep.
So, well, first of all, Andy, welcome to the commentary box. It's a bit of a change from, obviously, you know, sitting out for the first round at Silverstone, but looking to come back with a bang at round 3 at Hockenheim, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. You know, really looking forward to coming back in round 3 and causing a little bit of carnage on the grid. Also looking forward to a bit of carnage tonight as well.
Well, spoken like a true racing driver there, my friend. But David, obviously, you know, this track is steeped in motorsport folklore. You know, Interlagos has seen such moments as Ayrton Senna winning in his McLaren, just narrowly making it up with a lot of assistance after being stuck in 5th gear. Obviously, 2008 saw Felipe Massa win the race and thought he'd won the World Championship for about 60 seconds before Lewis Hamilton took his first title that same season. But it's a track that's really going to test the drivers this evening in terms of elevation changes. There's a lot of momentum change as well from left to right, especially going from turns like Ferradura, La Regina, and then also to Juncal, which is turn 13 before you go round towards across the start-finish line at around about 160 miles an hour. So it's going to prove to be a really tough test this evening.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Alex. We've seen some glorious, majestic drives here, and I've got to be honest, I don't think we're on the same level tonight as that. As I'm watching some of the drivers going round in practice just now. Certainly on the top end of the field, make no doubt about it. This is a lot of the drivers, Alex, are going to be trying to make their mark, trying to set the stamp down for the rest of the season. It's the mid-pack that I really, really do worry about. But here's hoping, fingers crossed for a good race. And I've got to say, Andy, it's fantastic to finally get you along here in the booth. So welcome along tonight, buddy, and enjoy the show.
Oh, thank you very much, mate. I'm looking forward to it. And like you say, there's definitely going to be some interesting moments in the midfield and maybe even further at the back. I mean, I'm just hoping that Max doesn't pull off for another ice cream.
That's come up early. But without further ado, let's have a look back at our season opener with the race highlights from round 1 at Silverstone. So Raivio on pole. We are about to get things underway. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to go racing here in Season 2. Will we get the green light from race control?
There we go.
Like, yeah, we're off and away down in Suabi for the first time. And Raivio gets the march on everybody. And it's absolutely kicking off in the back part of the field. One of the eTeam BRIT cars off the circuit. That is from Trundley up the inside.
Fires it from nowhere. What a move from Bobby Trundley.
Oh yes, that's why.
He's back. He's back.
He's back with a bang, ladies and gentlemen. Just keeping my eyes on who is currently leading the AM division at the moment, and that is Team FordZilla's Cammie Sturch, I believe. She's currently in 11th place.
David Taylor Pickett, brand new to GT3 racing. I wasn't expecting him to be up in the top 15. Race leader. This is amazing stuff. Just 0.2 of a second between the two of them, and I think Von der Heyde is maybe just being a little bit patient here, maybe putting the pressure on to Joonas Raivio, given that we're so early into the race.
And it's going to be rather interesting. We've got a replay here, and that is between. But oh, now was there a little bit of a touch?
Wow! What a save! Are you kidding me?
Save of the evening, Chris Butcher. I doff my cap to the as Van der Heyde trying to go. Hello, Joonas. Here I am, and nearly made the move through the chicane just past Vale as they head through Club Corner.
It's dropped back a little bit now. The gap is...
we just had an incident. Just had an incident, and that was between Cammie Sturch, and I think that might have been was Daniel Heyde. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time this season, pit stop window officially open. Sure that well, it's actually it's the 27th of November, so it's 3 weeks time, the 4th of December when we have round 2 at Interlagos. But look at this panel here, David. You're absolutely loving it, aren't you? Taylor Pickett's well has really got the others out.
Yeah, I don't know. Who is this person? This is not David Taylor Pickett right now behind the wheel, I'm telling you. That was a move and a half round the inside of Chris Wilson. As we see, is that my car stopped at the end?
That's Max Spooner. Spooner is on the right-hand side. As Matt Richards puts in a 1 minute 57.897. That's
so, I'm sorry,
qualifying place. Yeah, where did that one jump?
David Taylor Pickett, I was watching that live as it happened. Cold tyres, straight out the pits, and the car just drifts sideways, back in goes, and he's into the wall.
Just over 5 minutes and 40 seconds still to go before the pit stop window closes. Then it's a full-on 20 minutes. Moment there for Van der Heyde. Oh no, Van der Heyde losing the back. That was going through Stowe corner. The replay coming into Stowe. Davis, just take it through it.
Yeah, so they're side by side. We can see up on the inside there. Oh, and that does look. I don't know. You're kidding me. You're not telling me he's just gone round the outside. That is impossible.
At Stowe of all places. And taking the victory for Jenson Team Rocket eSports, it's Finland's Joonas Raivio in the number 69 Corvette. Brilliant job, pole position in qualifying, and takes the victory. Bradley Brockies in the 105 will now come through and power out of Club Corner and taking the win in the AM category. And it is a 1-2 for eTeam BRIT as Sandro Ballesteros will take second in AM and take 11th position on the road. Well, that was a very exciting season opener 3 weeks ago at Silverstone, and entries are now open for our third round at Hockenheim in just a few weeks' time. But let's have a look at the standings coming into round 2 here at Interlagos. First off, let's go with the teams' championship standings. eTeam BRIT, thanks to their 1-2 in the AM class last time out, lead the way on 45 points ahead of Jenson Team Rocket eSports on 41, thanks to Joonas Raivio and Matt Richards finishing in first and third in Pro last time out. Zanshow Simsport looked to only have one driver as Jan van der Heyde is actually on another duty this evening, so Sido Via looks to be very much on his own. Camsport Fire in fourth ahead of Team FordZilla in fifth, then Kadan Casual Apex. It should be reading 20 points there for Team FordZilla, a bit of a typo there, but then you've got THR Sim Racing, Camsport Ice, and Team BRIT rounding out the 9 strong teams that we've got. Let's go on to the pro standings. This particular instance, Joonas Raivio leads on a maximum score of 25 points. Jan van der Heyde will not take part this evening, so this is going to give Matt Richards and Sido Via an opportunity to move up a little bit further up the order. Chris Butcher is ahead of Bobby Trundley by just a mere solitary point, with Christian Kelly in 7th ahead of Martin Buchan. Louis Stewart and Toby Davis rounding out the top 10, with Sean King and Team FordZilla's Charlie Crossland rounding out the top 12 in those standings. Then we go to the AMP category, and it is Bradley Brockies, 4th in last year's championship. He leads the AMP standings on 25 points ahead of teammate, the number 19 of Sandro Ballesteros. Cammie Sturch from Team FordZilla 1, because we do have a new team here with us this week. She's on 3rd position with 16 points ahead of Ben Brown in the number 22. Chris Wilson rounds out the top 5. Daniel Heyde, Stuart Ross French, David Taylor Piggott, Ben Hetherington and Max Spooner complete the 10 that have already scored points this season. But let's have a look at the entries for round 2 here at Interlagos. So we do have a new team joining the series, and it is another outfit from Team FordZilla. 2 more radicals on the grid, and we do have David Simon in the 64, and then we have Dan Blake in the 127. David will be running in AM. Dan will be running in Pro, but also a bit of interesting information about Dan Blake. He is also a real-life racing driver, does enjoy a bit of fun behind the wheel of a simulator, and he runs the same category like the MX-5s, like our good friend from Season 1, John Monroe, with the Marlow Watch Company Racing squad when he partnered Ross McGregor. But Andy, just really from your perspective, I know that you're sort of getting things ready and waiting to get back for round 3 at Hockenheim in just what is it, 2 weeks time. This track is really, really tough, especially from turn 6 to 13. And it's up and down the gears constantly. It's on the brakes, it's on the power, making sure that the car doesn't drift out. What's going to be the key point? I think we talked about this in the preview show. Setup, wasn't it?
Yeah, so setup is definitely going to come down to whether you're on the pace or not here. It's a really tight and twisty circuit. You've got a few straights, but in the corners, that's where your setup's really going to make the difference here. Not just that, but your entry into the corner and your exit. There's so many variables here at play. I'm really looking forward to seeing how things transpire in the race.
Well, with that lovely bit of insight there from Andy Tucker from Team BRIT, let's have a look at the hot lap around the 2.677 mile, 4.309 kilometre circuit here at Interlagos. We're now at Interlagos, 2.678 miles, 4.309 kilometres, as we're making our way through to turn number 1, braking from 5th gear at around 260 kph, down to 2nd at around 100 kph, through turn 1, into the centre S as we go at around 2nd gear, 115 kph, before going through Cova del Sol. Now down by the Reta Oposta, towards the approach to Descida do Lago. We're going to hit 5th gear. Hits at around 250 kph before slamming on the brakes down to 2nd. A bit of correction going into the first part of Descida do Lago at 2nd gear at 120 k's. Through the 2nd apex at 3rd gear, 175 kilometers an hour on the speedo for the right-hander at Ferradura. Slight blip down on the brakes, 3rd gear 150 on the apex before La Regina. 3rd gear at 140 kph before Esse. 2nd gear, slowest part on the circuit, around 80 kilometers an hour before the left at Pinarino for Bico di Pato, which is also taken at 2nd gear. Another slow corner on the circuit here in Interlagos before they go through to Mergulo. And that will be taken as the car accelerates through the apex at 3rd gear at 160 kilometers an hour for Juncao. 2nd gear, 105 kilometers an hour before the final run to the checkered flag here at the Autódromo José Carlos Pace. as the Radical now accelerates through the gears up from third, hitting the rev limiter, going up to fourth gear through Subida dos Boxes at around 200 kilometers an hour in fourth gear, now all the way up to fifth and across the line at over 250 kilometers an hour. Well, that's just an insight. Obviously, we had the McLaren at the opening round at Silverstone. This time we had the Radical RXC GT3, which is powered by a Ford EcoBoost engine. David, I wanted to come to you now. Obviously, we're about to get things underway with qualifying. I've been looking at the times in free practice, and I've just seen that Raivio, Richards, Butcher and Davis are all separated by just under 8/10. But then you look at the next place car. How has Charlie Crossland got to just 1.3 seconds off of Joonas Raivio in free practice? I mean, that's just showed how much that car has progressed. And let's be honest here, the Radical is a bit of a handful, isn't it?
It's certainly a wild, wild car. It's got a lot of potential in it, but we did see Charlie Crossland and Cammie Sturch for Team FordZilla really struggling with that machine last time out. I think they might have done some major changes to the setup to make it a little bit more stable. So that would certainly explain a little bit. However, both myself and Andy have got the luxury of actually watching the track in real time here. And the weather is playing a big part in this as well. There was a hefty shower just came down. It's bright sunshine now, but that was affecting quite a few of the cars there. So, great to see Charlie recovering after that disastrous first round. And let's not forget, it wasn't just struggling with the car. He pretty much took the entire back end off. And if I remember rightly, that was when he had the DNF after the first round. So great to see him back on the pace and really, throwing the hat in the ring ahead of the likes of Christian Kelly, David Simon and Martin Buchan.
Well, I mean, just looking at things here, Andy, out of all the AM drivers at the moment, the person that has really come on strong is actually the Team FordZilla 2 driver, the 64 of David Simon. And he's only just under 1.5 seconds off the pace. So the Team FordZilla crew, both 1 and 2 squads, have really started to bring a bit of their A game here and show how competitive they can be, even in such a difficult vehicle.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's impressive to see what they've managed to achieve in the short few weeks since Silverstone. But again, we can't take our eyes off Bradley and Sandro. I'm sure those boys are going to pull it out of the bag. And let's not forget, as David mentioned, the weather's really come into play during practice. So I think times are going to change quite dramatically through qualifying. I think it's going to get shaken up a little bit as well.
Yeah, so currently at the moment, it's 22 degrees Celsius air and track temperature here at Interlagos as we are just waiting to get things underway for qualifying. I'm not going to put you guys on the spot at all as who you're going to consider for possibly the pole positions for the respective classes, but just to look at the times alone, Joonas Raivio nigh on under the 1 minute 29 second bracket. Matt Richards is 0.422 off. Then it's a further 0.28 to Chris Butcher. And then you've got Sido Vaya. That's a top 5 for the Corvette. And then you've then got a Radical, a Mercedes, a Radical, a McLaren, and it looks like qualifying's getting underway. And there is Brady Brockies in the number 105, the current leader in the AM Championship. So we do have Pro AM and we do have the teams. So things are being changed up. And just Andy, just tell us from a driver's perspective, the things that you've got to do to really sort of be on your A game and hook things up here in quali apart from the setup.
So for qualifying, the most important thing is obviously getting the car up to temp as quick as you can and running as little fuel on board as possible as well. I mean, it's quite dramatic just how much those extra few litres of fuel really do hold you back times-wise. I've had the advantage of doing a few little laps earlier just to get the setup made for the eTeam BRIT boys. And it's really surprising. If you put 10 litres too much fuel on board, that's it. You cost yourself 2/10 automatically. But as I say, the big factor here is going to be who can drive around this track in the cleanest manner possible. If you're too fast on corner entry, you're going to run wide. If you're too hot coming out of the corner, you are going to spin. So there's lots of aerials at play at the moment. And personal choice at the moment, I think Joonas is going to have this for qualifying. He was absolutely flying earlier. I did see a 1:28 out of him at one point. So, as I say, times are going to be getting lower and lower as we go on. So let's see what happens.
Okay, so as they absolutely thunder their way across the start-finish line here at Interlagos, literally rumbling the virtual broadcast camera once again. Thank you to Mike Yao and Simply Race for providing such fantastic imagery as they've rejoined us here for Season 2. 28 minutes on the clock remaining. So, David, this is where the drivers are really putting the pedal to the metal. A lot of them, some of them will come out whilst others are on their hot lap, but one of the rules as per the rules and regulations is that if you are on a hot lap, your headlights must be ablaze, and that is what we've got on several of the cars at the moment. But if the outlap is where the drivers really just have to watch for faster oncoming traffic, because the closing speeds can be quite significant in certain points of the circuit itself.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. I think that the drivers on their outlap, as Andy's mentioned there, they've got so much that they've got to get going on that outlap. They've got to really hustle the car to an incredible degree to get any sort of temperature into the tyres and into the car itself. The one thing that I find fascinating, and Andy again touched on it there about the fuel, is the incredible amount of momentum that carries you around this circuit. Your hot lap doesn't begin at the start-finish line. It begins 2 corners from the end of your previous lap. If you haven't hooked it up on the climb up that hill, your next lap is absolutely scrubbed, and that's what you're going to have to watch out for, especially with the amount of traffic that we're seeing through the qualifying session just now. In terms of who's going to stick it on the pole, my gut absolutely agrees with Andy and says Joonas Raivio. I don't even think that it's going to be close when it comes to the end of it. That's just a hunch. Matt Richards, I think, is absolutely the closest man to take on Joonas Raivio right now, but with the talent that he's got, and I think more importantly the confidence that he's going to show in the next 25 minutes, Alex, I think this is going to be an eye-opening lap that Joonas is going to put in tonight.
Well, here we are with the current pro points leader, Joonas Raivio from Jenson Team Rocket eSports. He's just come out of Yulkal, up through Solvinas Los Boxes and round the final corner. And this is where the Corvette really comes into its own. An absolute thunderous leviathan of Americana coming through. And he's currently 15th at the moment, but let's see when he crosses he's now gone on to a hot lap. The fastest lap so far is by THR Sim Racing's Chris Butcher in the 65 with a 1:29.460 in the Corvette, and teammate Toby Davis just 0.14 behind. Then it's Christian Kelly in the number 14. He's doing great in third place at the moment. Martin Buchan, a fellow Scot to countryman 2 David Christie, our Cinetic BMW Series winner from last season. He's currently running 4th in the McLaren 720S GT3, 0.8 off of Chris Butcher as the times start to come in. And they are changing quite rapidly. Martin Buchan goes P3 there, David. Great effort in the McLaren. Charlie Crosland up to P5 in the number 66 Radical. That car, he's absolutely manhandling it at the moment. And look, there looks to be a little bit of a formation work because Cammie Sturch, she's currently up in 9th position at the minute.
I did say they had a horrible time last round out. And let's not forget, they were a second a lap off the pace, Alex. So for them to be about 0.6 of a second to just a second now on qualifying pace, that is a big improvement. And more importantly, they're consistent. Look at the laps that they're putting in. They were in practice, they did at least 10-15 laps there without any incident whatsoever. They were unable to do that in round 1, so I think this is a confidence building exercise for them. Oh, there you go, Joonas Raivio, 1:28.2. My goodness, that is huge on lap 5.
I told you he had a 1:28 in him. That boy is absolutely flying at the moment. I don't think anyone's going to come close to that time, if I'm honest. I
think you're right there, Andy. I don't think even Matt Richards could hold a candle to that one, and that's his bleeding teammate as well. A 1:28.2. Cedar Vaya has just sprung into action, and he's responded in the number 26 Zanshow Simsport Corvette, a 1:29.344. He's just gotten ahead of Chris Butcher, who rounds out the top 3. So there's 3, well, actually make that 4 Corvettes when you include Toby Davis. Martin Buchan, I must admit here, David, is doing an absolutely fantastic job. He's running P5 ahead of Christian Kelly, Charlie Crosland, Louis Stewart up into 8th in the Audi. Well, Matt Richards just jumps in and pops in to say hello, 11 thousandths off of Martin Buchan. So Richards goes P6. There's Max Spooner in the number 63 Racing with Autism International McLaren. He's yet to set a competitive lap time. Neither has Bobby Trundley in the Seoul Team BRIT number 68, because obviously his partner in crime is up with us here in the virtual commentary box. But, you know, let's have a look back at last time out, Andy. You know, the drive that Bobby did had a really, really bad time through quali, couldn't really get a lap together, but then came through the field from 22nd to finish 6th overall on the road. I mean, that just shows the caliber of our good friend Bobby Trundley, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm half expecting him to do the same this race, if I'm honest. I'm wondering if that's why he's currently sat in the pits and hasn't bothered to put a time in. I've got a feeling he just generally enjoys running his way through the pack, and not just that, but you know, actually getting his elbows out and making some moves on people. So it's going to be interesting to see what he gets up to. I've got my high hopes for him. You know, I really want to see him do well again. But if he does start from the back of the grid around here, he's putting himself at a disadvantage.
Yeah, because this track here, David, as Martin Buchan says on the chat, I've got nothing more in the tank to give. Can Santa get me a vet for the next round? I think you might be all lucked out with that one, because no one else can have a Corvette. As Matt Richards goes through onto the braking zone into Junção, nearly loses the back end good and proper there, but he keeps that together, and that's sort of spoiled the lap there for him. Dan Blake, one of the new arrivals, that's from Team FordZilla 2, currently running in P16 at the moment, and his teammate David Simon, who's normally seen in the iRacing world, he is currently in 10th position, 2.193 seconds off of Raivio. Toby Davis definitely getting a bit hard and heavy with that Corvette, trying to get through Junção. You can just see how hard they're pushing here, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, watching Joonas go round, he's absolutely on it, and he's throwing that Corvette around just like it's a feather. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be doing the times it's doing, and I've got a feeling he's going to go quicker again.
Yeah, Chris Butcher has started to respond to him, David. He's just under 6 tenths off.
128.189 for Joonas Raivio. Are you kidding me? 2 laps.
See, just as I said it,
destroyed them.
I said he was going to go quicker. He did. I still think he's got more in the tank. I think we can say goodbye to Chris Butcher. He's not going to manage to keep up with Joonas here.
I'm going to put myself on a limb here. I think that Joonas, if he's got more time in that car, I think we're going to see as close as possible to a 128.0. I think he's going to hit the high 127.9s, because if you can pull another 2 tenths out of that car, no one can touch him. Even though you just said, Andy, that Chris Butcher, even though he's just over 6 tenths off, and Sido Vaya, as Butcher, you know, he's trying like absolutely crazy to wrestle that Corvette. You know, he was hoping to have a better run last time out at Silverstone, but you can just see that everyone is just like scratching their heads like Laurel and Hardy, wondering how Joonas Raivio is putting in these lap times.
I don't quite understand how he's managed to do it. I saw that he was quick in practice and he's been quick over the last couple of days, but you know, he's just gone back out on circuit again, so he's definitely still got more in the tank. He's definitely got more time to find, because he wouldn't be back out if he was. He'd just park it and wait for the race.
Yeah, very true.
I wonder though if it's to do with setups. You see Chris Butcher in the Corvette, and the way he's driving that car, it's very soft and smooth, and as you would straight into the apexes, whereas Joonas, the car looks like the suspension is so hard right now and so low. He's just throwing it into the corners and whipping that car around. I wonder if it's got the traction to actually improve itself on that. I don't know if we're going to see a 127.9. I think we're going to see a 127.6 or a 126.7. He's just got incredible pace right now.
You can see how hard Chris Butcher is pushing. Every time he messes up on a hot lap, he's straight back on the escape button. And Andy, I've got a message from Bobby for you. That he said, I'm just here to have a bit of fun. Okay, we're going to have, the ice cream merchant definitely pirouetting. I think he's heard the ice cream bell and got himself a cornetto there, isn't he?
Oh dear, he hasn't, has he? I knew he hadn't at some point. Whether it's a cornetto or whether he stopped for a fab this time, I'm not sure. But, you know, Max has been struggling with the car the last couple of days. And I just really hope he can pull it out of the bag this time and get himself some points.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a little bit further up the field than he probably would like. I mean, he did have issues last time of a technical nature, which thought the car would come to a complete standstill. I think you and me, David, we noticed that the car was actually on the right-hand side at one point towards the old pit lane at Silverstone. So, yeah, I think it's just going to be interesting to see if Max can sort of gather himself together and try and go for it.
Well, here's hoping. I mean, fingers crossed. We know that he's got the ability. We know that he's not got any fear whatsoever. We saw that last season from some of the overtakes that he did. So, yeah, I think give him tonight. If the race works out for him, he'll have his confidence back and he'll be back up. Interesting to see now 4 drivers under the 129. Matt Richards doing a 128.8 and Ciro Vire in the 128.9s. So that again just shows how fast Joonas Raivio is. The fact that he can blitz the entire field by such a big margin, 0.6 of a second, doesn't sound as impressive as the 1.1 seconds that he had about 3 laps ago. Yeah,
I completely agree there. I mean, it just shows the caliber of him. But you know, Matt Richards is close to making this a Jenson Team Rocket eSports 1-2 here at the moment, Andy. And he's just 58 thousandths off of Butcher. And the amount of times that Butcher has tried and gone for it, and he's had a moment, and the back end stepped out, or the car's decided to spin off the track. This is where Matt Richards can really capitalise in the latter stages of qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, we can't take our eyes off Matt Richards. He was the championship winner last year, and the boy can drive. You know, there's no ifs or buts about that. So if he hooks it together, I really think we could be on for a Team Jenson 1-2 here.
Yeah, so currently with 16 minutes and 38 seconds to go, Joonas Raivio leads the way in time qualifying for round 2 here at Interlagos, ahead of Chris Butcher by 0.625 seconds, then a further 58 thousandths back to Matt Richards in third. Ciro Vire, Tony Davis, Christian Kelly, Martin Buchan, Ben Brown, Stuart Ross French from Red Shell Racing in ninth, ahead of Louis Stewart from Green Machine Motorsport in the number 29 Audi. Charlie Crossland in 66 is ahead of Team FordZilla 2 driver David Simon. Sean King in 13th, Chris Wilson, Cammie Sturch round out the top 15, covered by just 2.466 seconds. Then it's Dan Blake, Bradley Brockies, Sandro Ballesteros, Daniel Heyde, Ben Hetherington, Max Spooner, David Taylor Piggott, and it looks like Bobby Truntley is sitting the pits, and he's going to go out there and have a few laughs and get his elbows out. Hey, Andy.
He's back on track now. I think we may have sparked a little bit of fire under the boy's backside by mentioning the fact that he was sat in the pits, and he may be out there to have fun, but at the moment he's on a hot lap, so let's see what this time brings in.
Oh, good to hear from one of the other people from the eTeam BRIT family, James Hall, saying that Andy is a brilliant commentator, but not as good as you, Alex. I said, well, hey, look, don't drag Andy down. He's doing a fantastic job. Fantastic job.
James, that's cheeky, mate. This is my first time on the job, and next time we're racing together, mate, I'm going to put a little bit of balance and performance on your car, I think.
Maybe some success ballast as well whilst you're at it.
He'd have to be successful first, but, you know, he's come a long way, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow,
see, it's all about the banter here tonight on round 2, ladies and gentlemen. But Sean King in the number 23 Cam Sport Ice Bentley is currently running P13, takes a tight line going out of Sulbida's boxes and thunders across that good old Bentley 4-litre V8 turbocharged engine. Currently keeping him in 13th position at the moment, so Joonas Raivio leading the way in Pro. And in I'm just having a look at the timesheets at the moment, it is David Simon in the number 64 Team FordZilla 2 car, currently running in P12 at the moment. And for those wondering, well, Bobby Truntley has just put in a 1 minute 30.420, puts him 14th behind Sean King. But still very, very competitive, as you were alluding to earlier, Andy. That, okay, the field might be separated by 4.8 seconds from first to 23rd, but there's a lot of places, like, say, when Bobby just went in, he was 9 1,000ths off of Sean King, who in turn is 2 1,000ths off of David Simon, and it's 27 thousandths up Charlie Crossland. This is how ridiculous it is. Louis Stewart 26 thousandths up the road, and then Stuart Ross French a further 79,000. That's how close it is between, what is it? That's 9th down to 14th position. That is just over a 10th and a half of a second separating those drivers. ridiculous.
It's really, really close in the midfield. You know, as I say, setup comes down to a lot of things, but I really think Bobby's got more in the tank. He's given a flash of the lights at the moment, which is telling me that he's on one.
Yeah. So Christian Kelly doing a great job with the number 14 Cam Sport Fire Mercedes AMG GT3. Here's David Simon heading through the centre S's. And then he'll go through Cover del Sol and then through onto the Reta Oposta before the long run down to Desida do Lago, where that car will be braking for around 245 to 250 kilometres an hour in fifth gear down. And we saw on the hot lap, it's very you have to sort of manhandle the radical, don't you, David? It's not an easy. We've alluded to it again and again, but it seems like Team FordZilla 1 and Team FordZilla 2 have really, really worked hard on setup. You can see that the car's, it's got a little bit of suspension travel there. You can see how it's like hopping up and down when you're going through certain apexes or putting on the brakes, but they're keeping to nicely keeping it nice and clean around the circuit.
Yeah, and we saw that last time out. I think the setup was just a little bit too stiff for them. They were really struggling on the high-speed circuit of Silverstone, and just losing it on some of the curbs was where they were tending to go wrong. I think that's been sorted out this time round, and they've decided to take a little bit an easier job on the car itself. So yeah, like I said, we said that earlier, it's great to see them doing much better, and not just that, but consistently. Like if we go and look at Cammie Sturch's times, you know, that's 131, 130.6, 130.7. So, you know, the times are consistent, as well as being able to put lap times in. One person that I have just noticed at the back of the grid, David Taylor Piggott, 133.0. I think I've figured out why he's slow on the pace just now. So I've brought up he's got on the live stream just now, and I was watching him in the pit. He's got 25 laps worth of fuel in there, and Andy, how slow is that going to make him compared to everyone else?
25 laps worth of fuel seems pretty excessive to me. I mean, the top boys, they'll generally run with, say 9 to 10 litres on board, which is just enough for about 2 or 3 laps. So if he's running with 25 laps worth of fuel on board, he's put himself at one hell of a disadvantage. Just a quick calculation on that, I believe that would mean he's running with about 74 litres of fuel on board, which is
82 litres, because I'm just looking at his pit screen just now. But not only that, he's really having problems with the car. So obviously he's in the BMW right now, really struggling to get a decent lap time in. And that car is going to be so heavy with all that fuel in it, it's going to feel absolutely horrific.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, if he's listening, he really, really needs to dump that fuel out of the car, run it on about 3 or 4 laps worth, and give it the beans. It's a heavy car anyway, but carrying more fuel on board is just going to put him at a further disadvantage.
Well, when you think about it, Andy, I mean, just look at the differential between him and Max Spooner. I mean, that's 8.5 tenths. He's probably, if he had let, you know, like say 10 to 12 litres of fuel in that car, he could probably easily knock off a 1.5 seconds, maybe even 2 seconds on the best lap time he's got so far, quite easily. But whether he's having problems with setting up the car, whether there's issues with the tyre pressures, I mean, yeah, we know that the BMW and also the Bentley, they're both big beasts in their own rights. But that is, or whether he's, I don't know whether he's trying to do a run to see how far he can get up the field before the first for the pit stop window after 20 minutes, but even that will still put him in a disadvantage, because everyone will go surging off into the distance and he'll be left high and dry.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely running far too much fuel. Personally, if I was out qualifying now, I'd be looking to run 2-3 laps maximum. It's like I say, the BMW is a heavy beast anyway. It doesn't handle the best in comparison to all of the other cars out there. So
He's heard this, boys. He's heard this. I just saw him on the stream going straight into the setup and changing it to about 5 laps of fuel. So I think he's seen what he's done wrong there, and I would imagine that car is going to feel totally different, Andy.
Hindsight is a wonderful thing, really, isn't it? I mean, you know, hopefully now his times will pick up a bit, and well, I say hopefully. I don't want to see him go quicker than Max. You know, I can't.
Or Bobby.
No, yeah, if he goes quicker than Bobby, Bobby will not be happy. But I can't imagine that. You know, I think Bobby's still got more in the tank. He's back out on another lap now. So let's see what time Bobby posts as he crosses the line. Has he gone quicker? Yes, he's gone quicker. He's up into 11th place at the moment, so that's taking him up 3 positions. I still think there's more in the tank for Bobby, though.
Well, I think he's going to get, if he can, get towards the top half of the second half of the top 10. But with 8 minutes and 20 seconds still to go in this qualifying session for round 2 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge for Season 2 here at Interlagos, the top 5 covered by just 8/10 of a second. Matt Richards has gone up by, he's done a personal best in Sector 1. Very smooth and effortless there through that particular corner. Towards the far part of the circuit. He's up by about 60 thousandths. And this is where we're just going to keep with Matt for the moment. And this is where he's now going to come down. And he's just gone through Juncao. And now he's going to make the run up the hill. And this is where it's going to get really, look how much of that curve he was taking on the exit out of Juncao. Now he's going to go through Subida dos Boxes and try and push it. And he's done a personal best in Sector 2. Matt Richards, is he going to get past Chris Butcher? He's gone tight to the wall there. Oh my goodness, goes P2. Less than 4/10 off of Raivio. So that was a great lap there from Matt Richards. Just absolutely nailed it to the inside wall, Andy. And that was perfectly timed by Richards.
Yeah, I mean, he did the right thing there by going up against the wall, using the wall to get low pressure on the car so he could just cut through the air and drag a bit more time out of it. But again, I think he's got more time in it. Watching the corner entry in Yumbago, he was just sideways pretty much. You know, if he controlled that a little bit more, he may get a little bit closer to Joonas. And if he does, this is going to be an incredible race to watch.
Well, I've got a bit of a wake-up call, gents. Joonas Raivio, 21.534, fastest Sector 1 out of anybody, and he's done a personal best of 45.425 in Sector 2, so it looks like he could be up on his best lap so far of a 128.189. So Raivio will have an opportunity. Is he going to get closer to that 128 bracket here at Interlagos? We've got 6 minutes and 19 seconds still to go. Tony Davis is going to cross the line very shortly. Not too sure if that was just keeping an eye out for Raivio at the moment, because he was fast in sectors 1 and 2. But I think he's gone back to the pit. Well, there he is. He's on an outlap once again. So I think Joonas was not quite happy with probably the second sector on that hot lap, because he was pushing. David Simon comes across the line and he stays 14th, but improves on lap time, a 1 minute 30.393. There's Bradley Brockies. He was running towards the lower part of the top 10. He's currently running P18 at the minute. So eTeam BRIT having a little bit of a mountain to climb, but obviously it's times for show. Points are to go, aren't they, Mr. Tucker?
That's for sure. I mean, I'm just riding on board with Bradley at the moment, and I can see he's out of position slightly on the track, which is going to be costing him time. As I say that, commentator's curse there, certainly. He's just spun it. So it's a bit of a hard one, a bit heartbreaking watching these boys now. I mean, are they going to manage to get another 1-2 in today? Who knows? Yeah,
it's all said and done when the checkered flag falls. Ben Brown from Cam Sport firing the 22, currently P10, and he's up in sector 2. Let's see when he crosses the line. Goes 9th, a 1 minute 30.108, 4 minutes 50 on the clock still remaining. So it is still the top 3 though. It's a Corvette fest at the front of the field. Raivio leading from Richards. Butcher has really come good in this qualifying session. He's P3. Via Kelly is the first of the other manufacturers apart from Chevrolet in the Mercedes. He's P5 at the moment. As one of the Team FordZilla cars goes spinning off, and I think who was that in the background? I just caught eyes on that was David Taylor Piggott. So I'm not too sure if there was a little bit of an incident there during qualifying. So one of the Team FordZilla drivers spinning around there, unfortunately. Not too sure. Was that
I think that was Cammie. Yeah, I think that was Cammie. I don't think it was contact that was there, but David had just went off the track beforehand. So yeah, it's not the greatest. 3:57. We're all going to have to get a move on now, guys. This is their last laps coming in here. Do we think we're going to see anything better?
Yeah, okay, there's a replay. Cammie was just trying to hook it up, and just lost the back end. Tried to keep it neat and tidy. Also, one of the more recent accomplishments for young Bradley Brockies, based out of Kent. He just was the voted the Young Aviator of the Year for 2020 with aerobility. And he's not only that, he's a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo, and he's a two-time Paralympic world champion. So that kid, Andy, in such a short space of time, having joined the team, eTeam BRIT in May, he has really come on strong.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to work with Bradley. He soaks up all information like a sponge. You know, you throw a challenge in his direction and he will accomplish it. He's just incredible. You know, I've got so much respect for the kid. It's been fantastic working with him these last couple of months. And I just hope he keeps going from strength to strength. Not just that, but I've got to be nice because, as you say, black belt in Taekwondo, I don't want to get beaten up.
I don't think he'd do that to you, mate. I don't think he'd do that to you. He's a good kid. He's a good kid, is Bradley. So we're with Bobby Trunny coming down the Reta Oposta, heading down to Interlagos. He also sent me another message, and he said, I'm trying to get my best out of it, but that's probably about as high as I can go. And if he gets to P11, you know, there's every chance that he could just go for it and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, P11's really not that bad. We've been struggling with the McLaren. It's not the best car around here. I mean, as you can see, we've got Martin bucking just 3/10 up the road, or 6/10 up the road from us at the moment. But these Corvettes, they're overpowered. You know, there's got to be something wrong in the mechanics of the game for them to be just as quick as they are.
Oh, and a little chuckle because Bobby's just spun it out from. So David's just had a little chuckle at Bobby's expense there, as Bobby's just lost the rear wing on the McLaren. Just under 2 minutes remaining. Looks like Cammie Sturch, she's made an improvement in Sector 1. That's a personal best for the number 5 from Team FordZilla. She's partnered with the number 66 of Charlie Crossland in the Team FordZilla 1 team. So let's just see. Looks to be nice and neat and tidy here at the moment, Andy, from Cammie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a stark contrast, really, from Silverstone, isn't it? Where they were really struggling with the cars, and it seems they've got to grips with them a little bit better here. I still think there's more to come out of Team FordZilla throughout this series, and it's great to have them involved, but you know, it'd be great to get them a little bit higher up the grid.
Yes, definitely. So Cammie Sturch in the number 5, running 3rd in the AM classification, coming into this round here at Interlagos. She will now cross the line in the Radical, 1:39.06. And she still has another opportunity for a hot lap, as there is Stuart Ross French in the set. Now, this is quite interesting because we've got Martin Buchan here, David, and we've got Stuart Ross French. They're both respectively 7th and 10th in this session. And I must be honest, Stuart Ross French had a bit of a nightmare at Silverstone, and here at Interlagos, he's absolutely flying.
He certainly is. That McLaren looking very hooked up, and I've got to be honest with you, it's looking very planted. So again, I wonder how many of the drivers have been maybe putting a little bit more effort into the to the warm-up, into the practice, and into the setups of these cars. Remember, this is a track that's very different from Silverstone. Silverstone's a very high-speed, high downforce track, whereas this is bumpy, it's full of elevation changes, so you know, it could just be that he prefers this track. But yeah, much better showing from Stuart Ross French. 130.1. I don't think he's going to improve on that just now, but he has at least been consistent. 130.6, 130.2, 130.1.
Checkered flag out for the session. That is it for half an hour of qualification here at Interlagos. And at the moment, Joonas Raivio has been pretty much untouchable, but Matt Richards is trying to close the gap. He's under 4/10 off. And some of the drivers putting in their last final hurrahs, their last efforts, as Stuart Ross French and also one of the eTeam BRIT cars just up ahead, coming through Subida's boxes for the final time before they cross the line. And we'll see how both of them do. Stuart Ross French absolutely puts 2 wheels on the grass on the right-hand side, kicks up the dirt, and still stays 11th. But Joonas Raivio, look, he's up by nearly a 10th in Sector 1.
He is hustling this car right now, Alex. He is throwing everything in. This could be it. This could be the 127.
Right, let's stay with Joonas for the moment, as he's now going to come through into Juncal for the last time up the hill through towards Subida's boxes. That was it. So Joonas Raivio from Jenson Team Rocket eSports takes pole position. in the pro category and overall for the second race in succession, followed by Matt Richards, Chris Butcher, Sid Ovaya, Christian Kelly in the number 14 Mercedes from Cam Sport 5. Did a brilliant job to be within 0.8 of a second ahead of Toby Davis from THR Sim Racing. Martin Buchan in the number 35 McLaren finished 7th ahead of Louis Stewart. These two were at loggerheads last season in the Cinetic BMW Series, and they're both in the pro class, and they both really adapted pretty well. So Louis Stewart in 8th. Ben Brown out-qualifies David Simon by 12 one-thousandths of a second to take pole position in 9th place ahead of David Simon from Team FordZilla 2. Then it's Red Shell Racing's Stuart Ross French, Bobby Trundley in the eTeam BRIT 68 McLaren in 12th ahead of Chris Wilson in the Cam Sport Ice number 55 Bentley ahead of Dan Blake from Team FordZilla 2. What a great effort from him in the 127. 14th ahead of Sean King in the number 23 Cam Sport Ice Bentley, 2.165 seconds off of Joonas Raivio. Charlie Crossland will start from 16th ahead of Team FordZilla 1 teammate Cammie Sturch. Bradley Brockies in 18th ahead of Daniel Heyde. Sandro Ballesteros rounds out the top 20 ahead of Max Spooner, Ben Hetherington, and also David Taylor Piggott. So, guys, top 5 covered by 8 cents. And then just to see the amount of increments between a lot of drivers. I mean, David Taylor Piggott there. Andy, let's go to you on this one. You know, he bettered his time by, what was it? That was a second?
Yeah, it was well over a second. Like I say, fuel load really does come into play in qualifying. It's going to be interesting to see the difference in fuel loads for race pace as well. I mean, the Corvette, they could run more fuel than anyone at this moment in time and just take advantage of a really late pit stop. But that, again, all depends on the tyres and how you've got the car set up. So I think this is going to be one of the most interesting races we've had in the GT Challenge Series so far.
Yeah, so in 2 weeks' time, we head to the Baden-Württemberg region at the Hockenheim Ring for round 3 of the championship, which will actually take us to just before the Christmas break. So a week before Christmas Day, we have our third round before we go into the new year. And it looks like things might be getting underway very shortly. But David, I wanted to come to you. Good to see some of the other drivers. I think let's look at Martin Buchan and Louis Stewart, who were at loggerheads last season in the eTeam BRIT Cinetic BMW Series. Along with them, Christian Kelly. You know, these three have really come on strong, and they've developed, they've advanced, and it's really been great to see all of that from all three of them.
Absolutely. I think it's no surprise to see them beside each other in terms of pace. We saw that through the Cinetic BMW Championship last season. And it also means that they've had that intense time around each other on the track, which means that they kind of trust each other a little bit more as well, which is so important in GT racing. Trusting the other drivers around you, knowing their strong points, knowing their weaknesses. And good to see Christian Kelly getting the upper hand tonight over Martin Buchan, and we'll potentially be seeing some more of that little battle developing. But it's just nice, not just with the BMW drivers, Alex, but again the return of a lot of these drivers to see this narrative that develops over the season. So, you know, round 2, let's see what happens tonight.
So here is the rest of the calendar. So 18th of December, Hockenheim. 8th of January, Mount Panorama. Adelaide on the 22nd of January. The Autodromo Nazionale di Monza on the 5th of February. The Autodromo Enzo e Nino Ferrari at Imola, the 19th of February. That's for the penultimate round. But Andy, I wanted to come to you on this. The Le Mans double points race. Very different format to what we had last season, which was halfway through. It's a 2-hour race. It's daytime qualifying, daytime start, nighttime finish, 2 mandatory pit stops. That's going to be an even more enticing way of getting the drivers to really go for it and sort of like have their strategies eked out all the way through the season.
Well, that's the thing with Le Mans. You know, you've got to work on your strategy for it. If you're running too much wing on the car, for example, you're going to be costing yourself a good 2 to 3 seconds a lap. So if you don't work your strategy out, get the car set up perfectly, you're going to be really disadvantaged throughout the race. So I think that's the round that I'm looking forward to the most. Personally, because I know that I can get a decent time in around Le Mans. But for everyone else, you're going to have to up your game. You're going to have to work on your strategy, your pit stops. You're going to have to sort your setup out. So it's going to be a really interesting one, that's for sure.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully we'll get things underway very shortly with the race here at Interlagos. So we'll be back very shortly for for the start of round 2 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge Season 2 here on Friday night. Right, they're all lined up, ready to go, and as you've just seen, the fantastic hand controls that are pioneered by one of the most inspirational teams in motorsport that Andy Tucker is a part of, Team BRIT, who believe and achieve. And Andy, you've had a lot of experience with those hand controls over time. You know, they're quite intuitive, aren't they, as the guys now get on the underway with their formation lap here at Interlagos?
Yeah, I mean, they're an incredible piece of kit to use, and props to Team BRIT for, you know, creating them and making motorsport more accessible to disabled people. You know, it's been fantastic working with everyone involved in the team, and Alan puts a lot of effort into the hand control systems that we've got. The hand control system that he's just created for the sim racing world as well, phenomenal bit of kit. You know, I really want and hope to get a set for myself, because they're a complete game changer for anyone with a disability. I mean, we've got Ben Hetherington in this at the moment, who's disabled himself, and he's using a controller. And, you know, by providing the hand control systems that the team does, it really levels the playing field for all involved.
And also for everyone at Team BRIT and eTeam BRIT, yesterday was the celebration of the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Let's have a look at the starting order for round 2 at the Autódromo José Carlos Pace, ahead of 60 minutes of racing. Joonas Raivio and Matt Richards making it a Jenson Team Rocket eSports 1-2. Sid Vai and Chris Butcher on row 2. Toby Davis and Christian Kelly row 3. Martin Buchan and Louis Stewart row 4. David Simon is behind Ben Brown, who rounds out the top 10. Bobby Trundy and Stuart Ross French, that is row number 6. Row 7 it is Dan Blake and Chris Wilson, followed by Charlie Crossland and Sean King. That's the top 8 rows. Completing the top 20 will be as follows: Cammie Sturch from Team FordZilla 1, Bradley Brockies from eTeam BRIT, Daniel Heyde and Sandro Ballesteros complete the top 20, followed by the 3 drivers as follows: Max Spooner in the 63, Ben Hetherington in the number 2, and David Taylor Piggott in the number 28 from Dundee Performance Racing. David, we're about to go racing. How excited are you again this evening, mate, on Friday night?
Biggity, boys, let's go racing.
Spoken like a true NASCAR professional there, as now it is down to Raivio and Richards to control the pace. They will be the ones that really will put the hammers down as they now start to filter their way towards Subidas des Boxes, as now the green flags will start to wave. Ladies and gentlemen, it is game on. Time for round 2. They start to press the accelerators hard to the floor, and they are now sprinting towards turn 1 for the first time. Who's going to get the jump on? We're going to find out very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats and brace yourselves. It's now time to go racing here at Interlagos, and it's nearly 3 abreast for second position going into round 1 for the first time. Richards getting squeezed from left and right, but it's still... there's been a turnaround. There's still and Chris Butcher, absolute madness going through the exit of Curva del Sol. It looked like there was an incident between that was Sidor Vaya and Chris Butcher. Toby Davis now takes third position. It's the Jenson cars side by side going through into Desida del Lago. That looks to be Richard. No, that's Raivio back up into the lead. So Richards had stolen the initial advantage, but Andy, absolute pandemonium at turn 1.
Yeah, I can't quite believe that, but I did call it, didn't I? I said turn 1 would be absolute chaos, and we've had a brilliant start from Bobby Trundley as well. He's worked his way up into 8th. He's just pushed through to 7th. So let's see what the boy can get done here.
Yep, so that's passing Ben Brown in the number 22. And it looks like they're exchanging places, but Joonas Raivio back up into the lead. Ahead of Matt Richards, Toby Davis from THR Sim Racing. Rounding out the top 3, Christian Kelly, Martin Bucket now completes the top 5. Louis Stewart up into 6th. There's a bit of a moment there as Ben Brown and Bobby Trundley went side by side. Trundley off the track.
Yeah, there was a little bit of nudging from Ben Brown there, through those last couple of corners. That was a bit of a rude move to put in, but that'll fire Bobby up. He'll get back.
Yeah, and he's got just ahead of him David Simon in the number 64, Team FordZilla 2, Radical, and just behind him is Dan Blake. Joonas Raivio puts in a 1:33.7. He's got a gap of around half a second ahead of his teammate from Jenson Team Rocket eSports. That is about 0.9 of a second now. Richards is quickest in sector 3. Joonas Raivio quickest in sector 2, but he's getting...
Again with Bradley Brockies, and I think that was Ciro Vire again getting caught up just after turn 2 there, Alex.
Okay, let's have a look
at
at
Charlie Crossland into the barriers as well. Rear wings completely off the car.
That's a repeat of round 1 at Silverstone, and it looked like Vire was going... Now, what happened there was that Butcher was trying to go up the inside of Richards. Vire was trying to go around the outside at turn 1. Richards managed to thread the eye of the needle through, and it just seemed like both Vire and Butcher had magnets on their panels, and they both came together and they both synchronised spin coming into the centre Ressa. So, that was, I think, probably a bit of a racing incident there, because everyone's... Oh, goodness me. So it looks like there's more it was an issue probably between Toby Davis and Chris Butcher. One of the biggest rules, Andy, is never take out your teammate.
No, you never want to take out your teammate in racing. That's always a bad thing to do. Especially if it's real life racing, you're just going to annoy your team manager, and no one wants that.
Well, we've got our first DNF of the evening, Charlie Crossland out of the race. Let's just have a look at this. Okay, right, you can see there that there was a bump from behind by Toby Davis. Yeah, so what's happened is that Vire's clashed with Butcher, and Toby Davis has had nowhere to go, and he's turned his own teammate around, and that's Butcher. Well, Butcher's now, he's recovered up to 10th position, just behind Bobby Trundley, as everyone's sort of battling away tooth and nail. As David Simon coming under pressure. Well, he's battling away with Chris Butcher of all people there, I think. And there's Bobby Trundley. Look at... threading the eye of the needle. Bobby Trundley said, yeah, I'm just going to go out for a few laughs. Well, this is Bobby's way of saying he's having a few laughs. He's going to go through, come hell or high water there, Mr. Sucker.
He's pushed through, he's back up into 8th. He'll be chasing Ben Brown down now. I can just imagine Bobby sat in his sim seat as well. He's going to be stewing. He will not be happy with the move that Ben Brown put on him. So let's see what happens here, because I'm sure that Bobby is fired up at the moment.
Yeah, so we now see Sidor Vaya down in 13th position on the road, just ahead of Cammie Sturch from Team FordZilla in the number 5 Radical. Max Spooner, in the meantime, David, he's up from 21st to 15th position, ahead of one of the boys that he's actually the team boss of, Sandro Ballesteros, as we got a yellow in Sector 2.
Yeah, and it's no surprises to see that, because there was all carnage and all hell kicking off. Bradley Brockies got absolutely wiped out by David Taylor Pickett as the car got sent across onto the grass there, so big damage for the the Team BRIT car there. But yeah, Max Spinner doing a great job, great recovery drive, getting himself up to 15th. And to be honest, he could very well get a few more places, because it's not done yet. There is more drama kicking off further up the field. But Bobby Trundley, he needs to get the police phones on him. He absolutely just mugged Chris Butcher and David Simon in broad daylight in public as well.
Well, that's something you don't hear of much at Interlagos, do you? But Sidolvaya still having to now fight back through the field. Just up ahead, he's got Chris Wilson in the 55. I spoke with Chris on the preview show yesterday evening. Louis Stewart doing a fantastic job, as is Martin Buchan. And look at this, though, Andy. 3 drivers from the Synthetic BMW series last season currently rounding out the top 6. How's about that one?
Yeah, I can't believe it. You know, these boys have really pushed themselves to jump up from BMW and drive their hearts out in the GT3s this season. It's going to be interesting to see what these boys can achieve throughout the race, and let's stick with it.
Okay, so Toby Davis rounding out the top 3 at the moment. He's about 3 seconds off of Matt Richards, who is fast, starting to drop behind teammate from Jenson Team Rocket eSports, Joonas Raivio, as we've got just over 13 minutes and 50 seconds still to go until the pit stop window opens for the mandatory 20 minutes. It's a minimum stop of 30 seconds. All drivers have to change tyres. And the strategy call here, David, depending on how much these drivers have fueled their cars in preparation for the race. There's David Taylor Piggott in the pits, and it looks like we've got another DNF. Sean King's out as well.
Well, that is unexpected. I do have a slight distraction though. I'm watching Bobby Trundley right now, and he is already on the way to catching up with Ben Brown in that Mercedes, and it's now just 2 seconds between the two of them. I've got to be honest, as Andy said, I'm scared right now for what Bobby's going to do to Ben.
I think he's gonna mug him in broad daylight here as well, eh?
I can see a lunge coming up the inside for sure. You know, Bobby will not be happy with the move that Ben put on him. It was a little bit rough going into a corner. So let's see what happens here. I'm expecting a little bit of payback.
I've heard the pin being pulled on the grenade, but from Bobby at the moment as he waits. He will be in lunge range very shortly, and we know that mushroom clouds will definitely circle around Interlagos. But with 52 minutes and 28 seconds, the running order at the moment is Joonas Raivio from Matt Richards by 1.3 seconds. Toby Davis in 3rd. That's the top 3 in Pro. In AM, it is currently... just having a look here. Ben Brown is actually leading the AM class in 7th position, ahead of David Simon. And then it is Chris Wilson running at the top 3, with Cammie Sturch about 0.33 of a second behind Chris Wilson. So... Sturch looking to try and get some good points. I mean, she's currently 3rd in the standings at the moment. But there's a lot of work to do. So we've had 2 retirements. On lap 4, Sean King in the number 23. That's a real shame for the Camsport Ice Bentley driver. And Charlie Crossland having another disaster, but this time he doesn't score points. And out on lap 2, especially after that massive incident. So, what are you laughing at now, Dan?
Sorry, Bobby Trundley, right, while going down the back straight, just types in OK ... And presumably that's to do with the move done by Chris Butcher to take that 8th place back on him. So,
yeah,
you know, when Bobby Trundley's typing at the same time he's driving, it's not going well.
No, he's not very happy with that one. I mean, Chris Butcher put one on the inside and essentially rammed Bobby for the position, which is a bit of a dirty move, but these things happen in sim racing, and like I say, it's just going to put a fire up Bobby's backside. He'll return the favour.
Oh, he's not that far adrift. He's definitely got the bit between the teeth and the fire stoked in the belly, and he's got not just Butcher up ahead, he's got Brown. But look, Louis Stewart. So from my perspective here, Andy, you've got there's the distinct opportunity. Yellow in sector 2 briefly, as we're going to have a replay here. That's David Taylor Piggott, all through the barriers. Oh, and straight into the path of Sean King. And he's rejoined the circuit. Okay, let's just keep our eyes on what happens here. He's going to hit one of the eTeam BRIT cars, and that was that Bradley Brockies?
Yeah, it was. That was about 4 laps ago. It was a horrible incident.
Okay, well, that puts David Taylor Piggott. I think, if I'm honest with you, that could be investigated by our race director at some point, or whether a protest does get filed in post-race. So we have... okay, so he's already got a penalty already, so he has had an in-game penalty. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have 10 minutes to go until the pit stop window opens for 20 minutes here. So, in many respects, I think, Andy, the pit stop strategy is another interesting aspect of the eTeam BRIT GT challenge, where the drivers really have to think on their, be on their wits a little bit and try and sort of have their eyes on stalks to try and make sure that they capitalise and do, whether it's an undercut or an overcut.
Yeah, so they've really got to concentrate and keep an eye on their fuel load. They've got to keep an eye on their tyre wear as well. That's a major factor in when people can pit. The name of the game really is try and eke as much out of the tyres and out of the fuel as you can. So if you've got a setup that's pretty aggressive on the tyre wear, then you're going to have to pit earlier. But if you've got a setup that's nice and comfortable and you can drive around with, still, say, 60-50% of the tyres left towards the end of the pit window, then you're onto a winner.
Okay, Bobby Trunley trying to slingshot past Ben Brown for 8th position. He's got ahead going into turn 1. So Trunley's made the move. Have we had any any information from race control about the turn 1 incident on the first lap, David? Don't know if we've heard if David is there.
I was pressing the wrong button. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Toby Davis is about to get a penalty for that lap 1 incident, and which is not so good because he's currently fighting off Christian Kelly, and I couldn't quite make out what the penalty is, but I would imagine it's going to be a drive-through penalty, which is going to put him at pretty much to the back of the field. So disaster for Toby Davis. Well, look at that. That's going to hand Christian Kelly a podium on a plate.
Okay, just been keeping an eye on the Discord on the server, and Sean King has actually said he had a disconnect. So that's why he retired, well, inadvertently DNF'd on lap number 4. And Andy, even though this is not real, this is a sim racing league that we've got here, sim racing championship, a disconnect is just as bad as having a mechanical failure on a car, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say it's comparable to a mechanical failure on a car. I mean, if you disconnect, that's it, game over, It's hard luck for Sean, but hopefully we'll see him come back in the next race and battle for position once again.
So riding on board with Martin Buchan, one of David Christie's many countrymen in this championship. And just to see how Martin's improved with the McLaren. I mean, the first race at Silverstone he was in the latter part of the top 10. And now we're seeing him sort of in the top 5, which could be 4th, as Ben Hetherington for Cadan Casual Apex has a little bit of a moment, and that is a yellow in Sector 2. But Martin's really come alive as well, hasn't he?
He certainly has there. It's fantastic to see. What I like is he's so intelligent as a driver. So he sees this battle between Toby Davis and Christian Kelly, and I've got no doubt. Well, that was a battle.
Davis just lost the back end. Christian Kelly had nowhere to go, and there's Buchan up the inside. He's like a whippet around a race course at the moment, and Martin Buchan now up into P3. But I think it was the fact that Toby Davis lost the back end of the car. Christian Kelly, you can see the front end is quite heavily damaged on that bonnet, had nowhere to go, and Martin Buchan was a cheeky, opportunistic scamp going up the inside there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was bound to happen there. It was just going on to what I was saying there. Martin Buchan saw the battle going on between Christian Kelly there and Toby Davis, and just kept 2 or 3 car lengths behind it. He had the pace to catch up with them, but just decided patience was going to be the better thing there, and it's paid off dividends for him.
Yeah, well, that means that his teammate Chris Butcher is now up into P5. Let's have a look at this again. Okay. Davis goes through the corner. Look, the back end steps out to the left-hand side instantly, starts spinning the Corvette around. Christian Kelly trying to avoid. Gets T-boned inadvertently there. I mean, but when you lose the back end like a car like that, Andy, it's difficult to save it.
Yeah, I mean, these GT3s, they can really hook up or they can really let go on the back end for you. And it's a shame that it happened to Toby, but I mean, it's given his teammate Chris Butcher the chance to capitalise on the mistakes made. Now, he's catching up with Christian Kelly and Martin Buchan, so it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens here. Could he go back into his 3rd place that he had at the start of the race?
Very, very true there, Andy, but keep your eyes on Louis Stewart, who's not too far off of Chris Butcher, who's about a second adrift, and then in the background...
Oh no, Toby Davis off again, slides off backwards down the hill, and that is pretty much his race done, with the fact he's going to have a penalty as well. Yeah,
there's probably a bit of front-end damage as a result of that T-bone mistake with Christian Kelly there, but, you know, you're looking at it now, Bobby Johnny's half a second off of Louis Stewart, Sid Vire up back into 8th, Ben Brown and David Simon rounding out the top 10. And things have changed a little bit in AM, I must be completely honest. You've got Ben Brown leading the way, David Simon, they're 9th and 10th on the road respectively, but 1st and 2nd in class. And I'm just looking a little bit further down. Cammie Sturch is again in 3rd place. But also a really good performance here from Dan Blake in the 127 Radical. And this is his first, you know, he's raced on R-Factor 2, but not in a true competitive sense. And Andy, from my sort of viewpoint, that's a really good performance to come into a set of software that you're not really too familiar with, but you've got good teammates and a good crowd and a good atmosphere to help you work against those problems and try and make that Radical as best it can be.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how hard Team FordZilla have been working, really, and how well they work together as a team. You know, to see them coming up through the ranks and push for position is definitely a good thing to see. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens now, because, I mean, Dan Blake is hunting down David Simon pretty quickly. In fact, he's just closed the gap by another 4/10, so I think we're going to see a little position change here.
Yeah, and we've just seen a replay that Charlie Crossland came together with one of the CamSport Ice cars, and yeah, that car was literally spun 180 degrees the wrong way, back end into the barrier, wing comes off, and I think the damage was just too insurmountable to repair in that amount of time. Yellow in sector number 2, 3 minutes and 10 seconds still to go until the pit stop window will officially open, and Toby Davis's race here, Dave, is just simply going from bad to worse.
Oh yeah, it's been a horrific afternoon, a horrific evening here at the race. But I've got to be honest, I was kind of watching Bobby Trundley there, Alex, and yeah, it did not go well for him. He's starting to catch back up, but was side by side with Louis Stewart, and Louis Stewart literally just turned in on him on the corner. And I think that caused a little bit of damage for Bobby, caught him a little bit off guard. He dropped all the way down from his 6th place down to 8th. He's got that place back up to 7th just now, but Bobby's getting treated as a bit of a punching bag tonight, I'll be honest with you.
He doesn't quite like that, and I know that from his Daytona D-Max racing days when I used to commentate back on him in 2017. Just had a replay there of Max Spooner. I don't know whether he was trying to do his best Swan Lake impression here at Interlagos, or whether he was going for another Fab Lolly, Andy. But hey-ho, that's what it is. But he's down into 18th position now. But, I mean, to be honest with you, Max has had a better race this time around. He's had none of the technical gremlins that sort of really scuppered his race at Silverstone. But you could just see, you were saying about the McLaren, with the BOP and everything, that it is a difficult car to drive around this circuit. And, you know, we've gone like literally to a track that was quite open, really, really good flowing corners like Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, you know, Abbey and Farm Curve. And then we come to Interlagos, it's a completely different proposition altogether.
Yeah, it's a complete game changer, this circuit. I mean, the McLaren in R-Factor 2, they've completely changed the dynamics of how that car handles. And it's so different to the previous Challenge Series that we ran. But I'm sure as time goes on, we'll get to grips with it once again and get the setups actually working for the team. We're just up against it at the moment, like I say.
Well, Louis Stewart is actually outside of the top 10 as Toby Davis goes banzaiing up the inside of the R8 through into the centre S's, and there is Dan Blake in the 127 FordZilla Radical from Team FordZilla 2. Toby Davis goes round really, really wide coming out of Curva del Sol there. But Louis Stewart, I noticed that he went wide a little bit, and I think that was probably through Magulo and Julcao. That's turns 12 and 13. So, you know, it's now getting to that point, David, where the exhaustion is starting to, you know, the lactic acid is starting to build up in the shoulders, the forearms, the biceps, the triceps, as we're about 30 seconds away from the pit stop window. It can make or break how much time you put behind the wheel, because the more time you put behind the wheel, the better your body is going to be attuned to it.
100%. Let's not forget, a lot of these cars are going to be carrying substantial amounts of damage as well. So goodness knows what that's going to be doing to affect the handling of these cars, Alex. And you know, that incident at turn 2 and turn 3, I think you're just flexing your ability to pronounce those corner names. You know that. Systematically, I absolutely butcher them as you try and pronounce them as Dacida do Lago. I'm glad we've got you here to do it properly, buddy.
Well, pit stop window around 10 seconds ago is officially open. So for the next 19 minutes and 45 seconds, the drivers will have an opportunity to have they have to have a minimum pit stop of 30 seconds. And Andy, in that sort of time, 30 seconds, it's a long time to be sitting in the pits, but it does sort of really just showcase how you can play your strategies out. And it looks like the Team FordZilla 2 team of Blake and Simon are really putting pressure on the teams in front, because as that car is getting lighter, it's getting more and more agile and competitive.
Commentator's curse.
You've done it now, Alex.
Hey, well, at least I wasn't the one to draw first blood, Mr. Tucker.
This is very true. Maybe I should keep my mouth shut on that subject.
Yeah, no, but I mean, the thing is that the car has come to them. The car has come to them as the track has evolved. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that there was a gap, and David Simon went for it. And I'd like to see a replay from a different angle to see what actually happened, because I don't know if there was a little bit of a touch that maybe sent David in. It looks like we're going to get one now. Okay, right, he's gone for it. He's gone alongside, and yeah, I think he's just gone in. He's gone in for it. Oh, and then one of the who was that? Was that Ben Brown off as well?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, right. But I mean, he just went for that gap, and there was enough room for them to give each other, racing space, wasn't there, Andy?
Yeah, there definitely was. I mean, you can tell that everyone's starting to get their elbows out a little bit now as we're drawing into the pit stop window. And it's just starting to turn into carnage, which is what I love about sim racing at times.
Well, at least...
Now, Chris Butcher has got ahead of Martin Buchan. I don't know if I was too busy looking all over the place there, but Martin Buchan down into 4th place then, and just ahead of Christian Kelly again. But that's a fairly decent recovery, Alex, for Chris Butcher.
Yeah, definitely. And plus, his teammate, Toby Davis, not having the greatest of runs again. And he's currently running in 7th. Well, no, he was 17th until Max Spooner just went past him. So I'm wondering now. It looks like Toby Davis has actually been the first one to pit. He's the first one to officially pit and do the mandatory stop. So he's the first one that decided to blink. But also the fact is, Andy, you've also got to strategically put into the fact of damage repairers. David Taylor Piggott off the circuit again.
He's DNF. David Taylor Piggott is a DNF. He's done.
So that's 3 drivers that won't score points this evening. So, and that is 2 pro and 1 AM driver that will not score points. You have to be classified by completing 75% of the race itself. So it's as in normal motorsport, as Andy and David will testify to that if you are if you're classified over 75%, you do get points.
That's correct, but it does depend on the series or the championship that you're in as well. Not everyone sticks to that rule, but hard times with David Taylor Piggott here tonight. He's really struggled, but hopefully a bit more time on the sim will give him a better chance next round.
Yeah. So at the moment we've got 16 minutes and 15 seconds of the pit stop window still to go. Yellow in sector 3. David Simon now pitting in the Team FordZilla 264.
Where is Daniel Heyde going? He was deciding to do a little bit of lawn mowing there. That's where the sector 3 yellow came from, and I'd be very surprised if there's not damage on that car, because that car was he was way lost. He was doing a Kimi Räikkönen.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the lap then as well, he went off through the centre S's, so I'm wondering if Daniel's starting to struggle with tyre wear, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you could be right there, and the back end didn't really look that well planted in that Cadan Casual Apex, and I think I saw a little bit of a lag spike at the end of it because the car started lifting and drifting through the air. But a little bit of a battle here. This is between, that is Chris Wilson and Ben Brown, so it's Camsport Ice versus Fire. Ice using the Bentleys, and qualify using the Mercedes, and they've got one car. Not to look at that, Andy. That's Sandro Ballesteros in the 19. He's really come on strong as young Sandro, the youngest driver on this grid, 13 years of age, and he's been doing a fantastic job as well.
Yeah, he's pushing hard. You know, he's one of those drivers that once he gets to grips with the car and how it's handling on the circuit, he'll really start pushing it. You know, he does a lot of go-karting in real life, and he's phenomenal behind the wheel there. So it's great to see him pushing forward, and hopefully he can catch up with Ben Brown, because there's only just a second and a half separating them.
Right, so just keeping an eye on the top three in both respective classes. This is where it's gotten interesting. Joonas Raivio and Matt Richards are about 2.1 seconds apart. Chris Butcher rounds out the top three, so he's back in the position where he qualified. Looking at AM at the moment, it has changed. The dynamic has changed, but I don't know how long it's going to remain like that, because Cammie Sturch is actually leading AM. She's 10th at the moment, ahead of Ben Brown and Chris Wilson. Chris Wilson is 0.3 behind Ben Brown, and Sandro Ballesteros is closing on them as well. And he's just gone 31 thousandths quicker than Chris Wilson in the first sector. And he was actually over 0.33 up on Chris Wilson on that previous lap. The gap now down to 0.6 between the pair. So Ballesteros looking to get himself back up into the top three and maybe try to go for a class victory here.
That'll be great to see out of him. If he manages to pull it off, you know, I'll be so proud of the kid. It's been amazing to work with Sandro. You know, so same with Bradley. He just soaks up the information given to him like a sponge. He just needs to get his head in the game and start pushing now. And as we say, the gap's closing. So fingers crossed, he'll get that position back. He's in the slipstream as we stand. So if he pushes hard into turn one, he might be able to slingshot down the inside.
Well, good move there by Sidor Vaya to get past up the inside of Christian Kelly to now get into 5th position. Now he's going to start hunting down the number 35 Privateer Pro entry of Martin Buchan. So the driver's really pushing like crazy at the moment. And with just over 13 minutes of the pit stop window to go here, David, it's looking like a bit of a formality in Pro at the moment. But AM is looking a bit more exciting in the way that the dynamic has sort of like come to us, that through all of this, Cammie Sturch has been the one that's really profited through it all in AM.
It certainly is, and the other thing as well is that while it may look a done deal up in Pro right now, last season has completely taught us that anything can and does usually happen. I think we have to take a moment to actually discuss this, guys, because Joonas Raivio and Matt Richards, 20 seconds, the pair of them, ahead of the rest of the field. I mean, that is... I can't get my head around that. And I get, obviously, the Corvettes seem to be in their element here, but they're not the only Corvettes here. So what do you think it is that they're doing so differently? As I see, I think that was Daniel Heyde facing the wrong way there at awards. What do you think it is that they're doing right that the other guys aren't?
I mean, I know for a fact they're competing in other championships that use the R-Factor 2 platform, so whether they found a car that works for them specifically, you know, so that's why we saw quite an uptake on the Corvette. Here's a replay. Yeah, back end just steps out to the right-hand side for Daniel Heyde here in the number 2 and the number 4 car. So, yeah, it's just going to be quite interesting. If anyone's going to have the real run on them. I mean, the thing is that Chris Butcher, okay, he's 14.5 seconds, make that 14 seconds behind Matt Richards. So we know what Chris Butcher is like, having seen him race in season 1. Okay, he was in a completely different car. But now that he's, you know, both he and Toby Davis were late entries to the championship. But they just got on with it. And Chris has been the one that's really been pulling the team forward. It's a reinvigoration of DHR sim racing. Okay, it's line astern, so this is going to give Chris Butcher the lead. The thing now, Andy, is that Butcher, if he decides to respond, what he's got to do is put in a couple of quick laps to make sure that he gives himself as much as a window as possible to get the undercut on Raivio and Richards, if he can.
Yeah, but, you know, I think Butcher's carrying a little bit of damage from all of the contact that he's had with other cars and the carnage in turn 1 initially. So will he have a longer pit stop than Richards and Joonas Raivio? You know, that's going to come into effect. And if that's the case, I think it's going to be another strong finish for Jenson Team Rocket.
Guys, just very quick. Oh no, it's okay. Ignore me. Sorry. Joonas Raivio was in a big spot of problem there. Daniel Heyde actually came into the pits just while he was in the pits, and the angle that Daniel Heyde's car was in meant that Joonas had to drive all the way around it to the left to actually get past the car. It was blocking his exit from pit lane, so he's a lucky boy that he didn't actually get held up behind that.
Just looking back at the angle that Daniel was on, that wasn't the greatest angle to be on in his pit box. I mean, it kind of looked as though he was half in the box and half out of the box as well. So maybe race control will have to have a little look at that and see if it actually cost Raivio any time. Yeah,
because Raivio, it did by about 0.3 of a second effectively, because Richards is now he's right on the back bumper of him. So that issue for Joonas Raivio has been a little bit costly there, but with the way that Joonas manhandles his Corvette, I mean, he's got one up on Matt Richards. Matt Richards knows that. Matt is the defending champion. Everyone wants to go for that bullseye on the top, on the back of that Corvette and try and get one up on him. And Joonas Raivio took the win at Fuji Speedway in round 7, last time out, and showed what we could come to expect if he did a full season campaign here in season 2, and that's what we're seeing now. Christian Kelly and Dan Blake have now pitted, so a lot of the drivers have pitted at the moment. Sandro Ballesteros, Bradley Brockies and Max Spooner yet to pit. Butcher, Buchan, Via and Stewart also yet to pit as well. So quite a lot of changes up and down the order, as they've got just over 8 minutes and 20 seconds still to go in this race. We're going to see that's Bobby off the track, Bobby Trundley off the track, and smack, the rear wing comes off. That's a real shame for Bobby there. He's down in 18th position, and that's got no rear aero on that McLaren, Andy.
I think he had it repaired during the pit stop. I mean, I can see the wing on the car at the moment, but unfortunate for Bobby. I mean, he's really not happy with the way that the car's handling at the moment. Just a bit gutted for him, really, especially after his amazing race at Silverstone.
Yeah, where he made up 16 places in a 1 hour race. So, it really does go to show that there's a lot that can happen in a race. There is the unpredictability factor. As now that is Joonas Raivio closing on Louis Stewart. So Louis Stewart, he could. Via's just got a penalty. Via's just got a penalty, I've just been informed there, David.
Yeah, I heard that one too, and I think that's going to cost him dearly, because obviously after the pit stop rounds, that's going to put him right to the back of the grid as well. Dan Blake out with suspension.
Oh, crikey. So that's... It's a difficult track here, Andy. One of the biggest things is not just about having the pace, but also having the mechanical sympathy as well. That comes part and parcel with real life racing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you're pushing the car hard and you're working those tyres to the extreme, they will drop off on here. I mean, we can see the track surface now is really, really darkened up with all the tyre marks on it. And it just goes to show how hard everyone in this race is actually pushing the car. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, Joonas and Richards are now 21 seconds behind Chris Butcher. So has Chris Butcher done enough to actually run away with this one? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, very true. So Via now in the firing line of our race director, so we'll be getting a penalty as Brockies and Ballesteros and Hetherington all in the pits. So we are down to 19 competitors. We're about to complete lap number 24 of this race, with Chris Butcher leading at the moment. He's yet to pit, as neither has Sidney Via. I think, now was that Bobby Trundley?
Oh yeah, Trundley back in the pits. Has he got a drive-through? I'm wondering if he's got a drive-through here, guys.
Okay, whether that's for track limits. So
he didn't stop, so exactly bad luck for Bob.
Yeah, a real shame for him, but we know that he will still, when he comes out of that pit lane, he will be fired up, revved up, and ready to go and try and do his best to get past people in front. And that's a real shame for him, because we know the calibre of the driver, all three of us do, that he puts his heart and soul and his passion into motorsport, and to see him reunited with Daytona Motorsport CEO Charles Graham at the final round of Brit car in the Aston Martin this season was just wonderful to see that video. And Bobby, from your perspective, Andy, having worked alongside him over the last season, he is such a great character. He is a character in his own right, but when he gets behind that wheel and that visor goes down, there's no stopping him.
Do you know what? He's amazing to be around. He's become a really, really good friend of mine from racing with Team BRIT. And as you say, as soon as that visor goes down, that's it. He completely changes.
Okay,
he's an absolute animal.
We're just going to see what happens here with regards to Dan Blake and the suspension issue. Oh, he's gone into the back of one of the Cam Sport fire cars, and that's why he's got the suspension damage. And he's trying to get into the pit box, and it's not letting him, and that's why he's got suspension damage.
Is it suspension damage, or is he suspended from the race? It doesn't look to me as though it's actual suspension damage.
I think it was the first impact, but that's dependent on how much damage was actually sustained by that radical when he did that impromptu move there. But probably because of the fact he might not have known. But
well, he's parked it in the garage now, so I think that's Dan Blake done for the night.
Yeah, that's 4 drivers that will not score points this evening, because as soon as we get to 15 minutes to go, that is the 75% mark, as Bradley Brockies is behind his teammate. They're battling for 15th place, so the last bit of the top 15. So Sandro is ahead of Bradley at the moment. So we are just keeping up.
Bobby's gone off again. He's taken the wing off the back end of the car.
Yeah, I've just seen that.
He's done. I don't think he can come back from this one now.
No, I think that's a real shame for Bobby.
I think reading between the lines, guys, as well, it's quite obvious the frustration levels have just got to such a degree that it makes it impossible to race like that. We love to see the guys and girls taking part for fun. That rear wing is gone, and as soon as he takes a high-speed corner, of course, the inevitable happens, and he's straight across the corner. I've got no idea where he's going. That was a nice shortcut, I've got to be honest. He's just caught about 3 corners out there just so that he can get into pit lane. I think the last when he got that drive through, I think it was maybe for speeding in the pit lane. So he's the way to go into the pit lane now, and yeah, my heart absolutely goes out for him.
It's a shame to see, and yeah, I can see in the little chat bar that Bobby's doing a marvellous job of typing while driving.
It's probably how he's lost the rear wing.
Let's not ask him that question then, shall we? 2 minutes to go until the pit stop window closes, and Chris Butcher is timing it to the absolute finite point here.
Yeah, he's done a damn good job with working out his strategy here, I think. But has he done enough to keep Joonas and Matt Richards behind him? I mean, I can see the gap is closing pretty quickly, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Okay, right. Dan Blake has just said that he had a technical issue with the software, and as he went to leave his pit box, the game cam changed to an exterior cam, and when he tried to reset it, it wouldn't let him back in. So he said it's sad to have a retirement for my first R Factor 2 race. Well, Dan, let's see you back at Hockenheim in a couple of weeks' time, just the Friday before Christmas. So, right, Butcher is in the pits from the lead of the race. And we have... So everyone has pitted. Everyone is confirmed to have pitted. Now we've got a full-on sprint for the next 20 minutes and 54 seconds. And Joonas Raivio and Matt Richards, Andy, are only 2 seconds apart.
Yeah, well, I expect nothing less from those boys. I mean, they push incredibly hard. And not just that, they're a gene. Like Matt Richards, with his setups on these cars, we borrowed a few from him last season, and he was an absolute maniac at making them. I remember Bobby's drive at Laguna, not Laguna Seca, Sebring,
yeah,
where he stormed into third place flying up the outside of John Munro. And that was all down to the fact that Matt had made a setup for him. So, you know, I can really see them walking away with this championship.
So Sidovaya has had a penalty applied by race control. As now, ladies and gentlemen, for the second time in Season 2, the pit stop window is officially closed. Every driver that is still running has pitted. So we have just under 20 minutes remaining. And David, now it is a full-on sprint to the checkered flag here at Interlagos.
Yeah, here we go, and it's a net gain from Joonas Raivio and Matt Richards of 10 seconds over the rest of the field. Going into that round of pit stops, it was 20 seconds was the gap between them and Chris Butcher, Mark Buchan and Christian Kelly. That's now up to 31 seconds. So, you know, barring any instance, those two just need to keep it calm, bring it home, and they've made it look so easy.
Yeah, so that looks like Bobby has parked it in the pits, another driver, and he was, Andy, 4 minutes and 13 seconds away from actually getting points this evening.
It's just a shame to see, really, isn't it? But the amount of damage that he had on the car, I don't think there was any way of getting it sorted so he could actually get back on track. Shame for Bobby. We'll just have to wait and see what he can do in round 3.
Okay, right. Let's just going to have a go to a replay now. What's just happened? Okay, the rear wing is not on the car. He's at that snapped and it's gone to the right, and the back end absolutely harpoons, and one of the wheels comes off the back end of the car. I think that was left rear. That's why the damage was so substantial. It took the wheel hub and the upright with it. So that is why Bobby Trundley has just DNF'd. Ben Hetherington back in the pits, so we are now down from 23 starters to 18, and in just over 3 minutes time we will be at 75% race distance. So every driver, irrespective if they do or do not finish the full distance of the race, will be awarded full points. As Louis Stewart getting he's up into 8th place at the moment, and he's got Toby Davis in front. So this is an interesting battle here now, David, for 7th position in the latter stages.
It certainly is. It's a very, very impressive race that we've had so far. Certainly, I don't think we've been able to talk about the midfield as much as maybe we would have liked to. Certainly, with the fact that Louis Stewart has dropped away from that battle with Martin Buchan and Christian Kelly. Sidovaya, I'm wondering if he's come in for that penalty yet, because he's still in 6th after pit stops. So I was expecting him to drop way further down after that one. But yeah, it's been a fantastic race, and we have to talk about it as well. Cammie Sturch and the teammate there for FordZilla. What a brilliant job that Cammie has done. You know, apart from the fact that Charlie DNF'd with that damage there, but the FordZilla is looking fantastic compared to last time out at Silverstone, and it's a very different race.
Yeah, and I think I've just heard word that Toby Davis is getting a penalty, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just had a drive-through assigned to him. I'm wondering if that's for contact, because he has had his elbows out quite a lot throughout this race.
I think I heard a race director say, "Oh, he put a driver in the wall." Oh, crikey! That's not going to help THR Sim Racing's team championship standings whatsoever. That's going to put Toby Davis, that could possibly put him out. That will more than put him outside the top 10. That will probably put him towards the bottom of the top 15, depending if it's a drive-through. And it's not. It's quite slow trundling down the pit lane, isn't it, Andy?
It is, and not just that. If he has put someone into the wall, the other thing that we have to take into consideration is the appeals after the race. You know, could he get landed with a further penalty, or worse, a grid drop for the next round?
Yeah, so Louis Stewart actually going up the inside of Toby Davis. And yeah, Davis not letting him get through. I think the Corvette's got the power on the Audi going through the corners, because there is the Green Machine Motorsport car and the number 13. So we still have... right, okay, we're just coming up to 15 minutes remaining, which means that we will effectively be at 75% race distance. Still have just just over 15 minutes to go, and Joonas Raivio again has pulled the gap on Matt Richards, but the best lap of the race is actually Matt Richards in this race, not Joonas Raivio, as we all thought it might be. A 1:29.076 from Richards. Butcher, I mean, his last lap, he's just put in his fastest lap of the race, a 1:29.237, as Louis Stewart goes off the track, I think trying to keep pace with Toby Davis, and he could lose out of position. Ben Brown's gone right round the outside of him. Yeah, right round the outside of him. That was a bit of a slight mistake there from Louis, wasn't it, Andy?
Just a little bit. I mean, he went into the corner a little touch too hard, and the back end just swapped round on him, and unfortunate. But as I say, if you've got the back end on these cars set so they're a little bit loose, the further you go into the race, the less rear grip you're going to have, and the more you're going to be fighting the car.
Yeah, very true indeed. It's now Cammie Sturch trying to close on Chris Wilson, and that is for 10th on the road. But more importantly here, David, that is second in AM, and that would, if Cammie Sturch gets into that position, that will give her 36 points. And I'm looking where my brain isn't working at the moment with the points calculations. Obviously, all results are considered provisional, pending any protests and everything else, like post-race and any appeals that need to be looked at and investigated. But Sturch really doing a great job. She's trying to close in on Wilson. It looks to be taking some tighter apexes in comparison to the Bentley there, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, she's flying around. She's doing a really, really good job. But question is, will she close in on Wilson? And can she catch up to Stewart, who's in front of Wilson? We'll have to wait. But she's definitely doing a damn good job at the moment.
Yeah, so well done to Cammie Sturch, currently running P3 in AM. Okay, and here is this is David Simon in the 64, and he's got Joonas Raivio closing up. And bit of a tag there. And that has, I think the thing is that David Simon is one of the AM drivers in this race. He's currently P12 at the moment, but that was a heavy hit from behind there, David.
Yeah, it's not what you want coming into the final 10 minutes to 15 minutes of the race, but it is what it is, Alex. You know, you've got all of these cars going round the track, and I've got to be honest, some of the drivers tonight taking some chances, I think, that might come and bite them in the backside from race control. They need to be a little bit more aware of who is around them, and maybe just calm down on the dive bombs. But yeah, you just have to keep your nose clean for the final 10-15 minutes. One thing I did notice, you mentioned Chris Butcher, Alex, and that is the last, 3 laps, he's been doing faster lap times than the two cars of Matt Richards and Joonas Raivio in front of him.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, it seems like, Andy, that 65 Corvette is coming to Chris Butcher in the latter stages of the race. And obviously, he went a little bit longer than Raivio and Richards in terms of fueling, and that's helped him a little bit, but also he hasn't had to put so much fuel in, so that's given him that extra half a tenth, maybe a tenth a lap performance in comparison with the top two.
Yeah, I mean, he'll definitely have the edge. He's going to have fresher tyres on the car, which is certainly going to help him probably be able to carry a lot less fuel now as well. And I mean, I can see that he's closing the gap at quite a considerable rate, but with 9-10 minutes left to go on the clock, I don't think it's quite enough. Good battle, good fighting from him, but I really don't think it's going to be enough to get the job done for second place.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I mean, it's just, if he was say 10 seconds behind, I could see that there would be a possibility, but being over double that distance away, it's not possible. But then we've now got the battle on our screens between, that is, Chris Wilson and Cammie Sturch. This has been a really, really good battle so far, David. I mean, they kept it really, really nice and clean. There's been there's been no harm, no foul in any sort of racing. I mean, look at the toe that Cammie Sturch is now getting, going onto the start-finish straight, heading down to turn 1. and she goes for the lunge up the
She's got
inside.
it. She's done
Oh,
it.
Dan
She's
Blake's
put the
away.
pressure on.
Not Dan Blake, that was Chris
Sorry,
Wilson.
excuse me, it was Chris Bolson. I saw Dan Blake just coming back into the session. Got slightly distracted there. Chris Wilson has had a torrid race right now in that car. He has really, really been in the wars. And I've got to be honest, that was an unforced error. Cammie applying the pressure, forcing him wide. And again, I can't really say forcing him because she didn't do anything other than just provide the pressure from behind. And he made the mistake by himself, and she'll take that position every day of the week.
Yeah, so we're coming up to the last 10 minutes of the race here at Interlagos to decide round 2 of the season. Another 6 rounds to go after this one, where we head to Hockenheim in just 2 weeks. Entries are currently open until next Friday. That's the 11th of December at 1700. That's 5 p.m. GMT, or 1800 Central European time. So Christian Kelly, he's done a really good sterling result here this evening here, Andy. He's kept his nose nice and clean. Of course, we saw him a little bit in the wars a bit earlier. But, you know, this is going to give him a real boost of confidence because it's going to push him out of the top 7 and really help give him some good points this evening.
Yeah, I mean, he's been pushing hard tonight. It's really good to see. I mean, Christian coming back from the last GT series that we did, I believe he was in the BMW. So it's nice to see him step up into the GT3 and not just that, but push for a top 5 finish here.
So 9 minutes and 13 seconds still to go. Things are sort of petering out after the first half was definitely more than just elbows out. I think there was some incidents and accidents, and yeah, I think, David, now that we've got things a bit more sort of ship-shape and Bristol fashion, if you will, it's been quite good to see some drivers really pushing forward. I mean, like Louis Stewart, Ben Brown up in 7th position, leading the AM class quite considerably. You know, it's been a great job seeing some of the drivers really come into their own here at Interlagos.
I don't know about you, Alex, but I'm just glad I can finally take a sigh of relief, a breath after an intense 45 minutes is what we've had so far here. We're now down into the final 10 minutes, Alex. It's been brilliant watching these little storylines develop. I mean, I've loved seeing the FordZilla drivers really getting to grips with those cars. Chris Wilson really struggling with his one. And one little driver that has quite impressed me, Stuart Ross French, just kind of keeping himself to himself in that little McLaren, currently down in 13th place, just behind David Simon. But story of the night for me, I'm absolutely devastated about Bobby Trundley. I mean, that accident that took him out of the race, it's safe to say it wasn't his race anyway, but you had that underdog spirit going through him, and you kind of just willed him on. I think if it hadn't been for that, I think he would have been in the top 5.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. It's just going to be one of those things where the drivers are going to really push like crazy. You never know what's going to happen, and then you get some drivers that absolutely shine like nobody's business, like a diamond in the rough, and then there are others that really sort of start building themselves up and moving forward. And Andy, we've got now Stuart Ross French. I mean, he was running in the top 10. He's now battling away with David Simon. What is a pretty interesting battle. This is for 12th position. It's Radical versus McLaren. It's very much an interesting battle between these two.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following it for the last couple of minutes, and they're dicing with each other, that's for sure. I'm just wondering if there's enough time left on the clock for Stuart to get the job done. And he seems to be able to carry a lot more corner speed. Then that Radical, for some reason, as soon as the straight opens up, it's just off and away, which is strange. You know, they must have really worked on the aero of that Radical just to get the pace into it. But I'm really not sure if there's enough time on the clock for Stuart to get the job done.
Yeah, it's just all a case of seeing what happens at the front of it, and you know, it's really difficult to see whether he's going to be able to have that one opportunity. You know, going through, I think it's just after Curva do Sol and then through to Reto Aposta. I mean, even on the main straightaway, going down into turn 1, you know, if he can hook that McLaren up and get the slipstream on David Simon, then he's got a real good chance of doing so. And now they're coming up towards the main straightaway. It's you know, he needs to be, I think, another car length and a half closer to really maximise that slipstream advantage going into turn 1.
Yeah, he just keeps dropping off the back of David and seeming to lose the slipstream. So it's just interesting to see what's going to happen here. And as I say, I'm not sure if Stuart's going to be able to get the job done if he keeps on breaking the toe. He needs to push a little bit harder and just get that McLaren right up into the back of the radical and really push it hard.
And David, we're coming up to about the last 5.5 minutes of this race. He's getting closer and closer, isn't he, is Stuart Ross-French?
I believe in him. I have the faith Stuart Ross-French can get this done. Almost to the outside. There you go. He's heard Andy Tucker right up to the inside. Makes the move. Surely they're side by side, but can't make that move stick. And he was 100% listening to Andy Tucker there and the advice that Andy was giving him about getting right up to the back bumper of that radical. And I'll tell you what, he's unsettled David Simon, because look at the pace that McLaren has got right now, and they need to be careful, because out in the background there, play the Jaws team, because here comes Sandro Ballesteros.
Well timed there, David. Well timed there indeed.
Look,
and he's only
he is gaining quite fast from him.
He's about 1.5 seconds, maybe make that 1.1 seconds behind him. As Stuart Ross-French is going every which way but loose to try and get past David Simon, and that is allowing Ballesteros to just use the pure pace of that McLaren, just keeping an eye on his lap times. He did a 1:32.2, okay, 1:32.8 from Simon, and 1:33.0 from Stuart Ross-French. And one of the things that Stuart Ross-French is having to cope with, Andy, is the dirty air, the backdraft that's coming from the back of that radical towards his McLaren. It's compromising him.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it really coming into effect in the corners, and not just that, David is blocking pretty severely, so he's definitely making Stuart work for it. But as I say, I'm not sure if there's the time to get it done. We're in the final couple of minutes now, and if David keeps on putting the defensive work in that he is, it's going to be really, really hard for Stuart to get by.
Yeah, he's trying again. Try as he might. It's just like he's trying all the tricks in the book.
He's pressured him into a mistake. He's pressured him. David spun it round, and it's allowed Sandro to get through as well. Oh, I can't believe it.
I mean, to be honest with you, it's his first competitive race on R Factor 2 for David, and you have to doff your cap to him a little bit there for trying as much as he can to do his level best. Is now Louis Stewart trying to close on Ben Brown, and just behind is Toby Davis in the number 34 THR Sim Racing Corvette. We're down into the last 180 seconds. And if I'm honest with you here, David, we're getting towards the end of the race, and it's just really been one of those things where you can sort of see how some drivers have moved forward, some drivers have started ending up being in battles. It's just gone crazy, isn't it?
It certainly has, and I don't think it's over just yet. As we're winding things up towards our final lap very, very shortly, Sandro Ballesteros, I think, is eyeing up Stuart Ross-French for that 12th place. But I think it's all done at the front. Chris Butcher did a great job of firing in some very, very fast lap times there. There's nobody really there apart from Ben Brown, Louis Stewart and Toby Davis. That is a cracking battle going on right now for 7th place. 3 cars absolutely duking it out right now.
Yeah, so just keeping my eyes on where Joonas Raivio and Matt Richards and Chris Butcher are at the moment. Chris Butcher has just gone through La Regina, whereas it's Juncal for Joonas Raivio. And there you can see the leader in the bottom right-hand corner of your screens as Louis Stewart goes defensive up the inside of turn 1 on Toby Davis. A real good run there from the number 13 Green Machine Motorsport Audi. He's really kept that car very, very wide as possible, but Toby Davis trying to put it around the outside. He still keeps 2 wheels on the track, and they go side by side down the Retro Aposta, down to Destino del Lago, and Toby Davis gets the grunt to go forwards, but there's a clash between the pair.
I'll tell you what, that's the second time he's done that. Turned in on the car on the apex of a corner. The car can't disappear. It's not just going to go away. So, you know, and I'm pretty sure that was actually what happened to Bobby Trundley. Exactly the same moment with Toby Davis. And I'm not impressed at that.
No, that's not how you should race in the World Sim Racing, and definitely not what we want to see in the GT Challenge either. So I'm not sure if the stewards will have a word or whether a protest will be launched by Lewis, but in my opinion, he should consider it.
Yeah, very true. Well put there, Mr. Tucker. As Raivio is making his way, I'm wondering if we might have another lap still to go, as Raivio is currently about to complete lap number 40, so we could be going on to the 41st and final lap of this race. 20 seconds still on the clock remaining. I'm just going to try and see if I can keep an eye on the speed that he's pushing. He's going full throttle. He's going close to full throttle at the moment, 240 kilometers an hour. Now we go on to the final lap of the race. So when he gets through the center S's, we will be at 0 on the clock. There's now Toby Davis trying to close up on Ben Brown for 7th position on the road as he goes down the Retta Aposta, down into Desiro del Lago. But then Raivio is doing a great job. He's now coming through onto the Retta Aposta himself, and he's about halfway down it and now into the braking zone. Yellow in sector number 2. So one driver definitely having a bit of a moment.
Louis Stewart.
Okay.
Louis Stewart's lost it.
Yeah, he's come a cropper badly there, hasn't he?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, that's made him lose a lot of time as Toby Davis trying to get his way past Ben Brown in the dying stages of this race. But Joonas Raivio is coming into the last part of it. That was a send and a half from Toby Davis up the inside of Ben Brown. That was actually a very, very good clean move there, Andy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was nice to see Toby actually manage to get a clean move in this race. He's had his elbows out quite a bit, so yeah, fair play to the boy. It's nice to see that he can drive cleanly.
Shots fired.
Warning shots across the bow, courtesy of Mr. Tucker. But
well, like I say, I'm coming back in round 3 to cause a bit of carnage, and if Toby wants to drive like that with me, he's going into a barrier.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for round 2. Out of the final couple of corners. Look how close it is now, because Raivio and Richards, they're going to do a formation here at Interlagos, and it is going to be a 1-2 for Jenson Team Rocket eSports. Raivio does the double here at Interlagos ahead of Richards, and it was just over a 1/10 of a second. It's a 1-2 for them. With Butcher very soon, I think he's going to be coming round He's going to be coming round very, very shortly to complete his final corner. Well, his final lap of the race. He's now about to make it through, and he will be on the top 3 and will take 16 points. Chris Butcher now crosses the line to take P3.
I mean, let's not forget about Martin Buchan here as well. He's put in a brilliant drive this race, considering he was driving in the BMW M2 in the last series. He's come along leaps and bounds. Snagging 4th place is fantastic.
And Martin Buchan does take a 4th place finish. That's 13 points for the number 35. Christian Kelly is being closed in on by Sido Vaya, but the number 14 from Cam Sport Fire will hold on for 5th position. Vaya recovers to take 6th place. And it's still close between Toby Davis and Ben Brown in the battle for 7th position, right up until the checkered flag. And Toby Davis really doing a great job. He's now coming through the final corner where they're going to hit 4th gear at about 200 kph power out of the corner. So Davis takes 7th. Ben Brown takes the victory in AM in 8th position. Louis Stewart, he now comes round the final corner. He will take 9th place. And very shortly we'll also see a runner-up in this time in the AM class will not be one of the eTeam BRIT drivers, but it will be Cammie Sturch from Team FordZilla. She's done a fantastic job this evening to recover and takes 10th place ahead of the likes of what will be Chris Wilson, Stuart Ross French, Sandro Ballesteros, David Simon, Max Spooner finishing in 15th ahead of Bradley Brockies, Daniel Heyde, Ben Hetherington with non-finishes from Bobby Trundley, Dan Blake, David Taylor-Piggott, Sean King and Charlie Crossland. Andy, well, the stories, they get changed once again here in Brazil, don't they?
They do. I mean, what a race it's been. So much drama. I mean, what have we had? 5 drivers drop out through accidents and DNFs. I mean, who'd have pictured it ending this way, huh?
Yeah. What have you got to say for yourself then, David?
I don't think that it's over just because the checkered flag is waved. I think we're going to see protests. I think we're going to see it spilling over as it already is. Just another uneventful eTeam BRIT race, really, isn't it?
Well, that's you know, you can see all the results on your screens at home, but we will hopefully be very shortly speaking to the top three in the respective classes. So what I'm going to do, Andy, David, I'm going to leave you for a moment. I'm going to go down and interview our top three in each respective class. Oh, okay. Right, okay. Looks like we haven't got any interviews this evening, but your top three, provisionally speaking, leaving here at Interlagos, Joonas Raivio takes a further lead in the standings in the pro class with a double victory after rounds 1 and 2. He's got 50 points. Matt Richards solidifies second place in the championship on 36 points, and Chris Butcher now has an opportunity to put the cat amongst the pigeons for finishing P3. Great job by Ben Brown from Cam Sport 5 for winning the AM class this time around, ahead of Team FordZilla's Cammie Sturch, her second successive podium in 2 races. This really puts her in providing that salvo shot across the bow for eTeam BRIT's Bradley Brockies and Sandro Ballesteros, who will look to bounce back at Hockenheim. And then it is Chris Wilson from Cam Sport Ice in the 55 Bentley that rounds out the top 3. Guys, what an evening it's been. Thank you ever so much for being my compadres here in the commentary box here at round 2 at Interlagos. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me along, mate. It's been an interesting experience, that's for sure. But you have got a few folk in the interview waiting room now, I believe.
We have got issues with being able to do interviews tonight, I'm afraid. So we're going to call it quits for this evening. But thank you to you all for watching on all the relevant streams. Join myself and David. You'll see Andy back out on track in 2 weeks' time, 18th of December, as we head to Germany, to the Hockenheim Ring for round 3 in the run-up towards Christmas. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Good night for now.